Hello everyone, Social Coach Michael Knight here, and today I'll be combining two different questions that I got from viewers. One question had to do with a guy who wanted to go out and improve his social skills, but he feels like his friend group and his colleagues, they're kind of holding him back, and he's kind of feeling a little resentment towards them. And the other question has to do with how do you go out alone when you want to socialize? And the reason these fit together well is because sometimes, like in the case where the guy's friends and colleagues are holding him back, you have to leave these people behind and go do it yourself. You can't bring them with you. And to do that, you have to know how to go out alone and socialize well. Some people are like, what? You can do that? You can go out alone? Won't people think you're weird? Won't they think you're some type of creep? No, of course you can go out alone. And a lot of times it can be also to your advantage. But before we get into that, please hit the like and subscribe button, since that'll help me build this channel. The primary key to going out alone is to not feel self-conscious about it. If you don't think it's weird, neither will anybody else. However, if you are lying and trying to cover up the fact that you're alone because you feel embarrassed, these are the type of actions that are going to negatively impact the interaction. I've often been out alone and people actually come up to me like, wow, you went out alone? I could never do that. And they're actually impressed because it takes a certain amount of self-confidence for a person to be able to do so. The same advice can be applied to a person who doesn't drink alcohol. You go out to a social event, often everyone's drinking, so you have pressure that you feel like you can drink too. I've been at events, people come up to me and they're like, what are you drinking? I'm like, oh, a virgin whiskey cola. And they're like, wait, you don't drink alcohol? And I'm like, no, I sometimes do, sometimes don't. Today I'm not. Anyway, right, just don't be ashamed about it. Don't try to qualify yourself. As long as you don't do these things, it's perfectly fine. Not drinking is also going to have the added benefit that your brain's going to be able to better detect nuanced verbal and nonverbal communication. Often opportunities that may have been initially missed early on because a person felt too inhibited to act are only later fumbled because of lack of focus. A person who is drinking may not feel like they want to be judged by you while they're, less inhibited and relaxed, and thus they might be pushing for you to drink because they also want to create that energy in the room. They want to see you also less inhibited and relaxed, and so that energy is there among you. However, you can likewise put the person at ease by simply freely expressing yourself, not being a judgmental person, and having a relaxed demeanor. Know yourself and know how you can push your own buttons to get yourself into a social and positive mood. It's so important to bring a positive attitude, because think of it this way. There's a group of people and they're having fun, and another person joins the group. And if that person isn't at the same level of them in positivity, or ideally a little bit higher, then what's the point? There's just someone here coming to leech off your fun and they're probably going to bring you down, your group down with them. No one wants this. That's why ideally you should be at the same level of energy as they are in positivity, and ideally a little bit higher. Not too much higher. Don't go in there like all crazy and like searching for attention and overwhelm the party, but show that you're bringing something to the table. Show that you can bring enjoyment to everyone in the group, and you're not just there to take from them. Any concerns that you have about being out alone or not drinking when everyone else is drinking, these all stem from a bigger problem where you feel like you need to qualify yourself. Being defensive, ashamed, or actively trying to qualify yourself is what you should avoid doing. Often people are just trying to test your confidence by seeing how you respond to their remarks. And the best response is often the truth, but delivered with a very strong and confident frame. If you want to know more about this, I cover all this in depth in my book, which you can find linked to in the description below. One of the biggest benefits to going out alone is that you're going to be less likely to fall into the trap of just sitting with your friend in the corner all night and not pushing your comfort zone to go meet new people. While when you do go out alone, you're there by yourself. What else are you going to do? You're there for a purpose, to meet new people, so you might as well do it. All my craziest nights out, like ending up at a Japanese karaoke bar that's located on the roof of a skyscraper in Manhattan at 3 a.m. surrounded by Swedish girls, this all happened because I initially went out alone, and that gave me the motivation to talk to and meet and socialize with new people. Another benefit to going out alone is that if your friends are less socially calibrated than you, then their bad beliefs, behaviors, and habits, they're not going to ruin your interactions. Not to mention potentially ruin your friendship with them after their presence has blown enough interactions enough times. A cool friend or two that are socially savvy can be a very valuable asset. However, one friend who is very socially inept, well, they can bulldoze every interaction into the ground. Coming from an engineering background, my colleagues were so far behind me that I quickly realized that I was better off on my own. You can't be expected to carry the whole team when you yourself are just starting off. Maybe you are the socially inept friend, and that's why other groups of people don't want to have you around. And while this may seem mean, it's not their responsibility to try to help you out of a sense of charity. And this can be a really hard truth. However, luckily for you, channels like this exist which provide resources so you can help yourself. The good news is that those who are motivated enough to seek out resources, they often in the long run become better than people who may have shown some natural skill from the start. Those who become the best at something often do so because they started initially way below average. This is what motivated them to work hard and to do so systematically so that eventually they're able to surpass those with natural talent. It's like learning and truly understanding a foreign language. A native speaker can be thought as being naturally proficient, but someone who actually learns the language from scratch with all the rules, over time can actually have a better knowledge of the language than a native speaker. I know when I was learning German and I had a question about grammar, like why is this article this way and not that way, when I asked a foreigner who had learned the language, they often knew the answer. But I ask a native speaker, they would just shrug and go, I don't know, it just sounds right to me that way. So let's say you go to some place or event alone. The best thing you can do as soon as you get there is start interacting with anyone. Man, woman, young, old, attractive, not attractive. The point is just to start getting into a social state. Because if you've been sitting on the computer all day at work, all up in your head, starting to socialize, it doesn't come automatically. It might take some time to transition. And the sooner you start talking to people, the easier and more social momentum you'll start building. And then later on, maybe there's someone you really want to talk to, and by that point, your social pump is primed, as it were, and it will be easier and not so difficult. And maybe you hit it off with one of these groups early on, and then guess what? That's great. You're no longer alone now. I'm going to link to another video here called How to Start a Conversation with a Stranger because it perfectly picks up where this video is going to leave off. To summarize the points that we have covered thus far, don't feel self-conscious about going out alone. Instead, embrace it, and don't feel the need to qualify yourself. If you're a person with high social anxiety, be patient with yourself. Going out alone to a new place by yourself, that already might be very overwhelming for you, even if you don't interact with a new person. Take it step by step. The first time out, it might just be getting comfortable in a new environment by yourself, even if you don't even interact with anyone. Perhaps just starting quick conversations with a person next time is already a good step of progress. And it might be a few more steps before you get to the point where those interactions actually go well. Again, be patient. Be proud of yourself for the small steps that you're taking, and most importantly, is to learn to enjoy the process. Every interaction that you initiate with another person should appear as being nothing more than a no-strings-attached opportunity to simply get to know you. It shouldn't come off as you looking like you want or need something from the other person. And finally, always remember to be non-judgmental and positive. Those interested in learning more can check out my book and other resources that I link to in the description below. Those who become Patreon subscribers will be directly contributing to my ability to keep making these videos. And like always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Until then, ciao.